Before I start, tell me something. If your own child looked you in the eye on the happiest day of their life and said, "You don't belong here," what would you do? Would you fight? Would you beg? Or would you quietly walk away? Because that's exactly what my daughter did to me on her wedding day, in front of 200 guests. And just when I thought my heart couldn't break any harder, the groom leaned close and whispered my name. Not ma'am, not Mrs., my name. And that's when everything shattered. Hey y'all, my name is Eleanor Brooks. I'm 63 years old, and this is the story of how I lost my daughter and how I found out why. Scene 1. The invitation that felt cold. The wedding invitation came in the mail on a Tuesday afternoon. White envelope, gold trim, heavy cardstock. Elegant. But it didn't say Mom. It said Mrs. Eleanor Brooks. That's when I should have known. My daughter, Claire, used to call me Mom, even in text messages. But the past 2 years, she'd been distant, cold, short replies, missed calls, canceled visits. And whenever I asked what was wrong, "It's nothing, Mom, you're overthinking." But a mother knows. A mother always knows. 2 weeks before the wedding, I called her. "Sweetheart, do you want me to help with anything? Flowers, seating chart?" Silence. Then she sighed. "No, Mom, we've got it handled." We. She meant her and Daniel, the groom. I had only met him twice. He was polite, too polite. Sharp suit, calm voice, perfect smile. The kind of man who watches more than he talks. The kind of man who notices everything, including me. The second time we met, I caught him staring at me like he was trying to remember something. It made my skin crawl. The venue was stunning. Outdoor vineyard in Napa. Soft string lights, white roses everywhere. Claire looked beautiful. Strapless ivory gown, hair in a low bun, pearl earrings. She looked like the little girl who used to fall asleep on my chest. But when she saw me walking toward her dressing suite, her face changed. Not joy, not nerves, anger. She stepped outside and shut the door behind her. "Why are you here?" I laughed softly. "Claire, it's your wedding." Her jaw tightened. "I asked you not to cause a scene today." My stomach dropped. "What scene?" She looked around to make sure no one was listening. Then she said it. "You've done enough damage already." Damage? I felt like someone slapped me. "Claire, what are you talking about?" Her voice got lower. "You need to leave after the ceremony. Don't stay for the reception." The air left my lungs. "Why?" She swallowed. "Because I don't want you there." Scene 4. The public humiliation. The ceremony was beautiful. I sat in the third row, not the first, not the mother's seat. That seat was empty. People whispered, "Isn't that her mom? Why is she sitting back there?" I kept my head high. When Claire walked down the aisle, she didn't look at me, not once. They said their vows. Everyone clapped. They kissed. And just like that, my little girl was someone else's family. After the ceremony, I stood up to head toward the reception hall. That's when she stopped me, right there in front of guests. "Mom, we talked about this." The music was playing. People were watching. My throat burned. "Claire, please." She didn't lower her voice. "You need to leave." Gasps. My sister covered her mouth. I felt 200 eyes on me. And then she said it. "I don't want you ruining this day like you ruin everything else." I don't remember walking away. I just remember the gravel under my heels and the sound of laughter behind me. I reached the parking lot. My hands were shaking so bad I couldn't unlock my car. And then I heard footsteps. Slow, measured. I turned around. It was Daniel, the groom, still in his tux, still smiling, but not the wedding smile. Something else. He stepped closer. Too close. "I'm sorry about that," he said softly. I nodded. "It's her day." He tilted his head. "She doesn't know, does she?" My heart skipped. "Know what?" He leaned in slightly. And that's when he whispered it. Eleanor. Not Mrs. Brooks, not Claire's mother, just Eleanor. Like he'd known me before, like he'd been waiting. My chest tightened. How do you know my name like that? His smile faded. Because I've been looking for you. My blood ran cold. I stepped back. What are you talking about? He glanced toward the venue. If Claire finds out before I'm ready, it'll destroy her. My pulse was pounding in my ears. Find out what? He held my gaze. About 1987. I stopped breathing. That was the year. No, no, that wasn't possible. That was buried. That was gone. That was... I think we need to talk, he said calmly, and not here. Because the truth about 1987 was something I swore I would take to my grave, and if Daniel knew about it, then this wedding wasn't a coincidence. It was a setup. I hadn't heard that year spoken out loud in decades. Some years fade, some years follow you. 1987 followed me. And now my daughter's brand new husband was standing in a parking lot, looking at me like I owed him something. The wind had picked up. You could hear the reception music drifting through the vineyard. Daniel loosened his bow tie like this was just casual small talk. "It's cold out here," he said. I didn't move. "What do you want?" He studied my face carefully, like he was comparing it to a memory. "You worked at St. Mary's Medical Center, maternity wing." It wasn't a question. My throat went dry. "That was 40 years ago." He nodded. "December, snowstorm that week." My hands started shaking again. "You're mistaken." He stepped closer. "No, ma'am, I'm not." I was 24, fresh out of nursing school, young, broke, newly married to a man who already felt like a stranger. St. Mary's was short-staffed that winter. The maternity wing was chaos. Babies crying, machines beeping, mothers exhausted. And one night, the power flickered during a storm, just for a few seconds, but long enough for confusion, long enough for mistakes, or so I told myself. There were 2 baby girls born within minutes of each other, room 12 and room 14, similar weight, same blanket color. And when the lights blinked, everything blurred. I remember looking at the bassinets, looking at the charts, feeling my stomach drop. Something wasn't right, but the shift supervisor brushed it off. "You're overthinking, Ellie, it's fine." I wanted to believe her, so I did. Daniel watched my face change. "You remember now," he said quietly. I forced myself to stay steady. Lots of babies were born in 1987. He inhaled slowly. One of them was me. The world tilted. "No, that wasn't possible. You're Claire's age." "Yes." My chest tightened. "You're saying..." He nodded once. "I was born at St. Mary's December 18th, 1987. That was the date, the exact date, the night of the storm." I didn't know anything was wrong growing up, Daniel continued, until my mom got sick 2 years ago. He swallowed. She needed a transplant. I already knew where this was going. We ran tests. I wasn't a match. My dad wasn't either. He looked at me with something between anger and sadness. That's when they did a full DNA panel. Silence. And my parents weren't my biological parents. The music from inside swelled, laughter, glasses clinking, a wedding, while my past cracked open. "They thought it was a lab mistake," he said, "so they tested again." Pause. Same result. Scene 5, the investigation. My mom hired a lawyer, Daniel said. They started digging into St. Mary's records. I felt lightheaded. Most files were destroyed in the 90s when the hospital changed ownership. Of course they were. But one thing survived, he added. A staff report filed during a winter storm about a brief power outage in the maternity wing. My knees nearly gave out. And guess whose name was on duty? He didn't have to say it. I whispered it myself. Eleanor Brooks. Scene 6. The real bomb. I pressed my hand against my chest. Are you saying there was a switch? His eyes softened. I'm saying I think Claire might not be your biological daughter. The sentence hit harder than anything Claire had said earlier. No, she was born there too. I shook my head violently. No, I gave birth to her. Yes, but what if the baby handed to you wasn't the baby you delivered? My ears started ringing. 40 years, 40 Christmas mornings, 40 birthdays, every scraped knee, every bedtime story, every I love you, Mom. Was he saying, no, no, no? Scene 7. Why he married Claire. I looked at him like he was insane. If you suspected this, why marry her? That's when his face changed. That calm mask slipped. Because I needed to know. My stomach dropped. You used my daughter? I fell in love with her, he said quickly. But you investigated her? Yes. My voice cracked. You built a relationship to get closer to me? He didn't deny it. I needed access, medical history, dates, confirmation. My hands were ice cold. And now? I asked. He looked towards the glowing reception hall. Now I'm almost sure. He reached into his jacket, pulled out an envelope, thin, white, folded. I ran a private DNA comparison. My heart stopped. With a sample from Claire's hairbrush. I couldn't breathe. And his jaw tightened. You're not her biological mother. The world went silent. Not distant, not muffled. Gone. 40 years. And my daughter might not be mine. And the worst part? If Claire wasn't my biological child, then somewhere out there, mine was. And I had just been thrown out of her wedding. There are moments when your brain refuses to process what it just heard. This was one of them. You're not her biological mother. The words didn't hurt at first. They froze me. Because if Claire wasn't mine, then whose was she? And worse, if Daniel was born that same night, what if... No, I couldn't even finish the thought. I forced myself to speak. You tested Claire against me, I said, but did you test yourself? Daniel didn't answer right away. That told me everything. You did, I whispered. He nodded once. Yes. My knees felt weak. And? His jaw tightened. We're not biologically related. The breath I didn't know I was holding escaped my chest. Thank God. At least they weren't brother and sister. But that didn't fix anything. It only opened a bigger wound. There were 2 baby girls born that night, I said slowly. Yes. And one of them was handed to me. Yes. And one went home with your parents. Yes. We stared at each other. So if Claire isn't mine biologically, I continued, my voice barely steady, then that means my biological mother, Daniel finished quietly, could be you. The world tilted again. No, it's possible. That would mean I married your daughter, he said, but you might be my mother. I stepped back like he'd slapped me. That's sick. He looked just as shaken. I didn't know until recently. How long have you suspected? A year. A year. He dated her, proposed to her, planned a wedding. For a year. You should have stopped this, I snapped. You think I didn't try? He shot back, emotion finally breaking through. I tried to walk away twice. She wouldn't let me. That didn't make it better. You gambled with her life. I needed proof. You could have destroyed her. His voice cracked. I know. For the first time, he didn't look calculated. He looked scared. Music swelled from inside. The DJ announced the couple's first dance. Guests cheered, and my daughter, the girl I raised, was dancing with a man who might biologically be my son. My stomach twisted. Does Claire know any of this? I asked. No. Does she suspect? She thinks you hate her. That one cut deeper than the DNA. She thinks I hate her? She believes you blamed her for your failed marriage, that you resented her. What? That's insane. Daniel hesitated. Her father told her that. I froze. My ex-husband? Of course. My ex, Robert, left when Claire was 10. He'd always been bitter, cold, quietly cruel. You're saying Robert told her I never wanted her? Yes. He said you cried when she was born. I did cry, but not from regret, from exhaustion, from relief, from love. He told her you once said you felt trapped. I had said that, about the marriage, not about her. Robert twisted everything. All these years, Claire thought I didn't love her. Scene 6. The bigger bomb. There's more, Daniel said. I almost laughed. Of course there is. He looked pale now. When my mom hired that lawyer, they didn't just look at hospital reports. My chest tightened. They subpoenaed birth certificates. And there was a late amendment filed 3 months after the storm. My pulse started pounding again. An amendment? Yes. By who? He held my gaze. Your husband. The air left my lungs. Robert. What kind of amendment? I asked. He swallowed. A name correction on one of the baby records. I felt sick. You're saying there's a possibility, he said slowly, that this wasn't just a power outage mistake. You think my husband switched the babies? You think, Daniel said carefully, that someone realized the mix-up and decided not to fix it. My brain raced. Robert always wanted a son. Always. When Claire was born, he barely smiled. But what if... No, this was too twisted. Unless Robert discovered during that hospital chaos that the baby we were handed wasn't biologically ours, and instead of saying something, he kept quiet. Or worse, what if he arranged it? If you might be my biological mother, Daniel said softly, then that means... Claire, I continued, my voice barely steady, could be Robert's biological daughter. Yes. My stomach dropped. But not mine. Yes. 40 years, and I may have raised the child of my husband and another woman, while my own daughter, the girl I raised, was out there somewhere, raised by strangers. The music inside shifted. Applause. They were about to cut the cake. I can't let this continue, I said. Daniel looked terrified. If you tell her tonight, you'll destroy her. If I don't, she might be living a lie. She just got married. She might have married my son. Silence. We both knew this couldn't wait long, but telling her in a reception hall full of champagne and cameras, that would scar her forever. I closed my eyes, and for the first time all day, I didn't feel humiliated. I felt protective. No matter whose blood ran through her veins, Claire was mine. And just when I thought this couldn't get worse, Daniel said one more thing. There's someone else looking into this. Someone who already knows and who doesn't want the truth coming out. There's a certain kind of silence that feels dangerous. The kind that comes right before something explodes. Daniel's last words were still ringing in my ears. There's someone else looking into this. Someone else. Watching. Waiting. And apparently not happy about us digging. Daniel subtly nodded toward the reception hall. Gray suit, by the bar. He's been watching us for 10 minutes. I turned carefully. Inside the glowing vineyard hall, guests were laughing, clinking glasses, and there he was, mid-50s, sharp posture, no drink in his hand, not smiling, just observing. Who is he? I whispered. Private investigator. My stomach dropped. For who? Daniel didn't answer immediately. Then he said it. Your ex-husband. It felt like someone poured ice down my spine. Robert knew? I think he's known for a while, Daniel said. He's been accessing archived hospital records, quietly. Why wouldn't he tell me? Daniel looked at me carefully. Maybe because he already knows the truth. My chest tightened. Robert was many things, cold, controlling, calculating, but capable of something like this? Switching babies, covering it up, altering records? The memory hit me suddenly. 3 months after Claire was born, Robert insisted on handling all the paperwork. He said I needed rest. He said he'd take care of everything. I never questioned it. God, I never questioned it. Daniel's voice lowered. My biological father is a wealthy man. I blinked. What? He owns several properties in Northern California. Old money. My mind started racing. And if the hospital realized there was a mix-up and one of those babies was his heir, the pieces started sliding together in a way I didn't want them to. And if Robert found out, Daniel nodded slowly. He might have seen an opportunity. My heart started pounding. You think my husband kept the baby that wasn't ours because she came from money? It's possible. And let his own biological daughter go? Yes. My stomach turned. Robert always complained about never having enough, always chasing something bigger, better. What if Claire wasn't just a mistake? What if she was chosen? The man in the gray suit started walking toward us, calm, measured. Daniel's shoulders stiffened. Don't react, he muttered. Too late. The man stopped a few feet away. Mrs. Brooks? I didn't recognize his voice. You've been difficult to reach. I didn't know you were trying. He gave a tight smile. I represent Robert Hayes. Of course he does. What does Robert want? The man's eyes flicked to Daniel. He wants this matter closed. Closed, like it was a business deal. This isn't a contract dispute, I snapped. This is my life. He didn't blink. And it can be significantly complicated if you pursue it. That wasn't a suggestion. That was a warning. What does that mean? Daniel demanded. The investigator adjusted his cuff. It means DNA results can be misinterpreted, records can be challenged, lawsuits can become unpleasant. You're threatening her, Daniel said. I'm advising you, the man replied smoothly. I felt anger replace fear. For 40 years I've loved my daughter, I said. You think I'm scared of paperwork? His expression hardened slightly. This isn't just about paperwork. He leaned closer. There are financial implications, inheritance claims, public exposure. There it was, money, always money. If it becomes public that a hospital heir was switched, he continued, multiple families could be impacted. And, I shot back, some people protect what's theirs very aggressively. Daniel looked shaken. You're saying my biological father knows? The investigator didn't confirm. He didn't deny it either. I'm saying, he replied calmly, this wedding is not the place to start a war. War. That's what this was now. Not a mistake, not confusion, a cover-up, and powerful people wanted it buried. Suddenly, the microphone squealed inside. Claire's voice echoed through the hall. I just want to thank everyone who supported us. I froze. That was my baby, biological or not, mine. Tears filled my eyes. Daniel looked torn apart. I never wanted to hurt her. Then don't, I said firmly. Not tonight. He nodded slowly, but I could see it. The guilt, the fear, the weight of what we now knew. As the investigator walked away, he paused. One more thing, Mrs. Brooks. I braced myself. There was a third irregularity filed that night, in 1987. My pulse spiked. A third baby? Yes. A premature infant briefly moved during the outage. I stared at him. That baby's records were sealed. Sealed? Daniel whispered. Court order. Who? He held my gaze. Your husband. 3 babies. Not 2, 3. 1 raised by wealthy parents, 1 raised by me, and 1 sealed, hidden. Why? What was Robert covering up? And suddenly, a memory hit me so hard I physically staggered. I remembered waking up alone after delivery. No baby in the room, just Robert, holding a swaddled infant, saying softly, "Everything's fine now." Everything's fine now. What did that mean? What wasn't fine before? The music swelled. Claire and Daniel were cutting their cake, laughing, while a 40-year-old lie cracked open outside in the dark. And now I knew something terrifying. This wasn't just a hospital mistake. This was intentional, and someone powerful had been protecting it for decades. There are truths so big, they don't explode. They sink in slowly, like poison in water. By the time you taste it, it's already too late. I stood outside my daughter's wedding knowing one thing for sure. Whatever happened in 1987 was not an accident, and the man who knew the whole truth was the man I once trusted with my life. I didn't wait. The next morning, I drove straight to Robert's house. Same white colonial, same perfect lawn, same man who walked away from me and never looked back. He opened the door and froze when he saw me. "Eleanor," he said carefully, "you shouldn't be here." I stepped inside anyway. "I know about the babies." Silence. "I know about the switch." Still nothing. "I know about the sealed record." That's when he finally looked at me. Not angry, not shocked, tired, like a man who'd been waiting for this moment. "You never were supposed to find out," Robert said quietly. My hands were shaking. "You stole my child." He didn't deny it. "There were 3 babies," he said. "One died." My heart stopped. "What?" "The premature one," he continued. "She didn't make it." The room spun. "And the other 2?" He swallowed. "One was ours biologically." My chest tightened. "And the other?" "She belonged to a wealthy family," he said flatly. "A powerful one." I stared at him. "So you chose?" "I protected us," he snapped. "No," I screamed. "You protected yourself." "Claire isn't mine," I whispered. Robert looked away. "She was never yours biologically." Tears streamed down my face. "But she was raised by me." "Yes, I loved her." "I know." "Then why?" I demanded. His voice broke. "I wanted security, status, a future. So you let my daughter go?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. "And my biological daughter?" I asked. Robert's shoulders slumped. "She was adopted." "By who?" "A nurse from another state. Private adoption, closed file." My knees buckled. "All these years?" I whispered. "She had a good life," he said quickly. "You don't know that." "No," he admitted, "but I told myself that." That's how monsters sleep at night. That afternoon, I asked Claire to meet me. Just us. She walked in guarded, angry. "Why did you embarrass me at my wedding?" she snapped. I took a deep breath. "Because I didn't want to destroy you." She laughed bitterly. "You already did that years ago." I reached across the table. "I never stopped loving you." She scoffed. "That's not what Dad said." There it was. I told her everything. The hospital, the storm, the babies, the lies. She went pale. "You're lying." I wish I was. Daniel walked in quietly and placed a folder on the table. DNA results. Claire read them slowly. Her hands shook. "I'm not yours," she whispered. I swallowed. "Not by blood." Tears fell. "But you're my daughter," I said firmly, "in every way that matters." She broke, sobbing. "I thought you hated me." I pulled her into my arms. "I loved you more than my own life." And that was the truth. Daniel knelt in front of her. "I didn't marry you for answers," he said. "I married you because I love you." She looked at him. "But what if—" "We're not related," he said gently. I checked, multiple times. She nodded through tears. "You should hate my family." "I hate what they did, not you." Robert was exposed. The sealed record reopened. The adoption agency contacted. 3 months later, I got the call. They found her. My biological daughter, alive, healthy, 40 years old, a teacher, a mother. She agreed to meet me. She looked like me, same eyes, same hands. She said softly, "I always wondered where I came from." I cried into her shoulder. "I never stopped missing you, even when I didn't know you were gone." Final scene, full circle. Claire and I are rebuilding, slowly, carefully. She calls me Mom again. And Daniel, he stood by her through it all. Because families aren't built by blood alone. They're built by love, by showing up, by choosing each other. My daughter once told me to leave her wedding, but in the end, I didn't lose a child. I found two. And the truth? It didn't destroy us. It set us free.